What's going on, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. This might be a difficult conversation for me, right? Let me just say that before I even start this one, right? This might be a very difficult conversation for me. So this is about growth. And what happens to us as we grow from being a young black male to a grown black man, and some of the things that go along in the process. What's up, Mr. L.A.R? The reason I'm talking about this today is because I saw that clip of DMX when he said how he got introduced to drugs, by his quote unquote mentor in rap, and he gave him some a blunt that was laced with crack, and he got him hooked at as a teenager. And then I saw the story about the rapper King Von getting shot, and looking at all the young men that were there at the time, whether they was on on his side or not. And at the same time, people over online trying to take credit for it and act like it's cool. And I just started to realize, well, you know what? And I was watching Drink Champs too, when Irv Gotti was on there, and he was like, the older rappers need to talk to the younger rappers. There need to be a bridge, and how there's this underlying thing where the young guys think the old guys think they're trash, and the young guys think the old guys are trash. And that journey from being a young black male to a grown black man, you know, yeah, I ain't gonna necessarily talk about that, Patrick, but I feel you. It's a interesting journey, because part of the journey is the lack of understanding what it takes to be a man, and trying to figure the little things that you're doing as a male make you a man. And you're gonna bump your head against the wall a time or two, because as a young black male, you normally, you don't necessarily have responsibility, even if you are a latchkey kid ripping and running in the streets, right? And one of the things about that, when people say the lack of fathers and fathers and being in the home, or the lack of fathers in young men's lives, part of that is like it's a mix of a father that wanted to be there and a father that didn't want to be there. A mother that wanted the father in their life, and a mother who didn't want the father in her life. And subsequently, the child who either wanted their father in their life, who didn't want their father in their life. So depends on, the mix in that equation. Since everybody's not on the same page, you're gonna have a lack of unity. And young men don't realize it, because, you know, what winds up happening is so many want to be quote unquote better than their fathers, or better men than their dads, or better fathers to their children when they have children. And in that process, what skipped is, do you even know what you want to do with your life? And a lot of times, you know, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So you get a significant amount of young black males who are really lacking something to do. And because they don't have anything to do, or somebody hasn't made them stick to something that they chose to do, you know, it creates a window of opportunity for dysfunctional behavior. And what I mean by that is, you know, young black males, we don't, when you're a young black male, you don't necessarily have a enemy in society to compete against. Is, for the most part, you hear the stories of reasons why you should dislike your father. That's your only enemy. And you don't look at the world like, okay, I got to compete with the world. I just got to be better than my dad, which causes a whole nother problem, a whole nother set of problems because, you know, even if the dads want to help, kids might not be willing to take the help. You know, you know, what you got there, American Negro? Huh? Yeah. So you have this total lack of direction. And you have certain kids who know what they want to do in life and know what they want to be in life. And the crazy part about it is what it looks like. What's up, Micah? Is that when you're a young black male, if you know what you want to do with your life, the adults around you are gonna act like they don't know how to get you there. They're gonna act like I don't. If it doesn't have to do with sports and entertainment, the adults are gonna act like I don't know what to do for you. You know what I'm saying? Or I want to be a doctor. Okay, well you should get good grades, go to school, and you know, figure it out. You'll figure it out when you get to college. That type of situation. Or, you know, I want to be a lawyer. Go to school, get an education. I guess go to law school, but um, people can't point you in the right direction of like, okay, what's the best school to go to? What's the best program? What do I need to get to the best situations? Can I do this in state or out of state? And this type of dynamic. And what you come to find out is a lot of people believe that these young men are just, you know, faking it. Like they just were lazy. They lack ambition. They lack drive. They just don't know the steps. What if you miss a step? What if you were told bad information? What if, okay, this going this way doesn't work for you? What's the backup plan? Can you go this way and and accomplish the same goal? You got a lot of these young men learning on the fly. There's no support system for that. And people don't want to address that. You know what I'm saying? People just don't want to address that. So it becomes more and more problematic. You know, what's up, Southpaw? So now we're in this weird situation where there's a animosity with other young black males. Like, see, people don't probably don't understand this, but when you young, all of that anger and that angst and that tension and that stress of wanting to be something gets in the way. And you wind up, in some cases, getting into it with other young black males. But when you're grown, it doesn't happen. You know, it's not a, it's not as much, it's not really beef at all, really. It's not, people might be haters or people might, be backstabbers or whatever. What's up, Trenton? But everybody on their own little grind. What's up, Dion? Like everybody's on their own little grind. So guess what? They're not gonna have the time to be messing with you, even if you got a beef. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times as you get older, what you wind up seeing is you see a lot of black men with the who are like, you can spot a black man. What's up, Roger? A guy who is unproductive as a young man and is unproductive as a grown man, and you can see why he's acting like that because they're guys who should be grown by their age that still acting like young black males because they're unproductive in their life. And then, this is where there's a difference. Like there's a switch of mindset because of responsibility. You know, you got guys who still want to, you know, they're they're chasing skirts their whole life, or the majority of their life, but they're not really getting anything done. They're not doing anything uh, positive with their life or productive. And then when they hang out with guys who do something productive with their lives, it's like they have two different. We both speak in English, but it's two different languages. And you start learning that as you start aging, because when you're young, when you're young, you know, you want to do all the stuff that the grown folks are doing. You know, I want to be grown. I want to be on my own. I want to have my own stuff. I want to have, you know, live this place and live that place. And I want to, you know, go to these clubs. And, you know, I want to have that young adult experience. You know what I'm saying? I want to do the spring break, whether you're in school or not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly, Trent. You know, I want to do that. I want to, you know, I want to go on spring break. I want to go to Cabo. I want to go to Miami. I want to, you know, I want to go to all of the hot spots. Oh, I'm 18. I can finally go to the club. Oh, I want to go to the strip club when I turn 21. I want to drink this, that, and the third. And what winds up happening is some people, you know, I want to be able to do what I want to do, right? And people don't realize, like, people want to be a boss, you know, but most people are not bosses. What's up, Calvin? Yeah, exactly. Most people are not bosses. Most people are rogue. See, most people, you know, are saying they want to be a boss because they want to do whatever, do what it is that they want to do whenever they want to do it. But truth be told, the vast majority of those people are just spoiled, or want to act like spoiled children who could do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. You know what I'm saying? You're not a boss, you're a rogue, because who's dependent on you? You know, a boss has people dependent on him. They got to make decisions that other people are going to have to eat off of. If you make bad decisions, people go hungry. You know what I'm saying? People get you know, some people can be loyal to you, but you know, you can only make so many bad decisions if you're a boss, and not create a detrimental situation for everybody around you. But most people are just rogue. You know, I just want to have the freedom to do whatever, whenever, wherever, however, not taking into consideration, you know, you can't build anything like that. Appreciate it, Southpaw. Like, you can't grow anything like that. And then you wind up in a situation where you start learning this as a young black male to as you start getting older, because, you know, what winds up happening is this it's like a lot of late blooming, where people are getting it together, or just starting to get it together in their mid to late 20s, or just starting to get it together into you know, early or mid 30s. You get what I'm saying? And you start to realize, man, what was I doing with my time, with my life? And this becomes an issue. Like, everybody, for the most part, has dreams and aspirations, right? But when you're a young black male, you know how to concentrate on whatever craft that you're in love with, because most teenagers, young adults, they can spend all day doing the thing that they feel like they dream about doing. But what you don't know until is where most young males are caught up is, you don't know people, you don't know the business of things. You don't know how things work logistically, or the schematics, or, you know, it's a lot of this is a feeling, right? I feel like it should be this way. I feel like what's up, Mr. Griffith? What's happening? You know, and I feel like it should be this. I feel like it should be that. You know, we gonna just do it. You know, that's the it's a lot of, I'm going with my gut, not understanding that, you know, you still gotta cross those T's and dot those I's. And then sometimes when you're young, you feel like, you know, I ain't got time for that. But But that business aspect of it is actually what you need to be as successful as you dream to be. You know, it's not just going to happen, you know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, from young black male to grown black man, it's a difference. It's a difference because you start figuring out that, you know what, there's one thing you don't, you know, some people want to be known. Well, I shouldn't say want to be known. Some people want to be seen and some people want to be known, you know. And people who want to be seen don't necessarily have to accomplish anything. But people who wind up being known, actually, you know, their reputation can precede them from the things that they've done. And that's one of the things you start learning because, you know, you realize I don't need to be seen everywhere, but what if I'm known everywhere? You know, that you got to think a little bit differently. And these are things that, you know, some people are fortunate to have mentors, but that's the minority. Some people are fortunate to have people who can show them how their plan can work. That's not a mentor, but that's the minority also. What you wind up having is a group of young men who are just pretty much going in whichever direction the wind blows and trying to prove themselves. And the one thing about trying to prove that you're a man when you're a young male is this: you're not proving it with men, you're proving it with people in your age groups who are young males. So it's building your confidence, but when you're around a grown man, that's two completely different things. You know, there's not a lot of, how can I say this? There's not a lot of similarities between the young males and the grown men. It's just it's a different level of experience, a different level of 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 foresight. Because when you're young, you lack foresight. As you start growing older, you start getting like, okay, this is how this is gonna end if I do this. You start putting that on the table. What's up, Emmanuel? You know, right? Yeah, I get that. I get that. And a lot of this stuff comes with, you know, anger, not knowing how to channel your anger. Because when you're a young black male, you don't necessarily, if you're going in just, you know, going in any direction. What's up, Tom? And you don't know how to channel that anger, you just angry all over the place. You see a lot of people making decisions that are just not good decisions because they're making decisions out of anger. You know, you know, I don't want to feel like I did when I was a certain age. I don't want to feel powerless. I don't want to feel unimportant. You know, I don't want to feel abandoned. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to feel the pain of whatever happened, whenever it happened. And it's like, wait. You can't, you can't grow your life, you know, living in anger if you don't know how to channel that anger. You know, yeah, and you know that's part of the issue also. Like when you're a young black male, you don't know just because there are older black men in the community doesn't necessarily mean those men who are in the community have your best interests at heart. You know, so just because you might look up to a guy, but that don't mean that guy cares about you like that. That don't mean that guy's actually looking out for you like that. You get what I'm saying? And this is one of the things that young brothers don't get. Like when somebody says, you know, don't look up to that cat. Like, who are you? Like, listen, because there are people who are from the hood and don't live in the hood anymore, and there are people who never left the hood, and you and in a bad way, as if like as adults, you know why certain guys never left the hood because they're not they're too they couldn't survive in a community that has more structure. They enjoy the lack of structure in certain areas, so when you're a young male, that's the guy. He's an alpha male because he get to come and go as he please. He don't work. He might hustle or whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Samuel, what's happening? You know, he might hustle. He might have some type of scam or whatever, and you might look up to that, and it's like that's not a good idea. And then you see guys who are working or working hard, in a legitimate fashion, and you start wondering, like, some guys will get looked at like they're suckers, and it's like, they're a sucker because, this person's working a job, this person's working for the white man, this person's going to school, whatever it is. And you're not taking into consideration that at the end of the day, you don't understand what kind of quality of life you're gonna want. And some people don't think about that. Tone, thanks, fam. Some people don't think about their quality of life because you're young. As you get older, you start thinking about the quality of life you want to live, and that's when things get real. And what's unfortunate is a lot of when you're a young black male, we try to tell you, I got you. You know, when you're a young black male, people try to tell you, you can't make as many mistakes as other people. Thanks, Ray. You can't make as many mistakes as other people. But when you're a grown black man, you understand that. And you know how to navigate in society without getting caught up in the same type of mistakes. And what young black males don't understand that grown black men are trying to tell you is a lot of times you can use, say, your fathers, for instance, if they don't live in the same neighborhood or city or state, right? One of the good things about that is that grown black man can actually help you decompress. They can help you decompress. What's up, Paul? Yes, Sayers, I know who you are. They can help you decompress. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you're a young black male, you feel it. You know what I'm saying? You feel the pressure. You feel people's expectations of you carrying them and taking them somewhere where they didn't carry themselves or take themselves. You feel the weight of you got to be successful for everybody, and you feel the weight of you know people not believing in you, right? But still wanting you to succeed so they can succeed. You know what I'm saying? To be everybody's messiah or miracle worker. And when you become a grown black man, you start realizing one of the issues with that is the pressure crushes young males, young men, because there's nowhere to decompress. Because if you're always in a pressure cooker, you can't necessarily think right. You know, Osage, thank you. You can't think right. Like you can't process information properly because your emotions are just all over. It causes a ball of frustration. So your mind's not clear enough to, for the most part, to look beyond your present situation. You know, yeah, they put a battery in. Yeah, that's the problem. And now you got a lot of regrets on the back end because you become a grown man realizing there were a lot of things I couldn't take advantage of because my emotions were just were not conducive to success. And that becomes a problem. So much of a problem that at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you, like, you see some grown black men who are broken because they don't know how to fix the mistakes that they made as a young black male, because the opportunity that they blew was so big that they feel like there ain't no coming back from that. Like they feel like they'll never get another shot like that again. And that's what I mean by, brothers know you don't get a lot of chances. You know, appreciate that, Rosters. You know, this is where we at. So when you start from a young black male to a grown black man, it's a process that winds up constantly being an individual process, but it doesn't have to be. What's up, Prometheus? Like, it doesn't have to be. I was watching that SNL thing today, and what's crazy is people are making it a badge of honor to to go on that journey alone. You don't need help. When you do, you know, one of the reasons why we say we kind of lack we don't kinda that we lack rites of passage from boyhood to manhood is because there's this underlying thing we're teaching all the young boys that they don't need any help. They can all figure it out. Excuse me. They can all figure it out on their own. No, at some point when you don't have to do that. Nobody told you, when people tell you you don't have to do that or show you that you don't have to do that, that becomes an issue. You know what I'm saying? It might be David. You know, yeah. Dave Chappelle is he's one of the best comedians of all time. But now we got this issue where you see guys like the young guy that got killed, and I remember O'Shea did a video about that with the girl. His girlfriend was like, she only date killers, and now that the young dude dead, now she's crying online. You know, yeah, they did. So now we got this issue, right? Where you're young and you want to be loved and admired, and you want to be the man. So much so you're doing things that might cost you your life for basically attention. Not realizing, you're basically trying to be a big fish in a small pond. And nobody, took you outside of that pond to show you a different world. And I remember a long, long time ago, a long, long time ago, Meridian was happening. That when I was a kid, I never really left my neighborhood. My older cousin, he took me in Chicago. He took me to Michael Jordan's neighborhood, and this might be weird for some people, but when I grew up in the hood, I had no idea that people lived that much, like how drastically other people's lives were as far as their lifestyles. I had no idea, because, my neighborhood is my neighborhood. You're young, You don't say, okay, well, 5, 10 miles away, somebody's living a life that I couldn't even fathom. What you know what? I'm gonna tell you how it happened. So I was running track in high school. So we would run like we do a 5 mile jog periodically, as the workout. And we could go in two different directions. One of them was a direction that was like basically showing, most things that I know. And another one was a different direction, and it went into a different neighborhood. And when we went into this different neighborhood, I remember we was jogging, and it was like, that's Frank White's house. So anybody who doesn't know, um, yeah, going to your friend's house. Yeah, but all my friends didn't. Yeah, all my friends had the same situation as me. So it's kind of like that. But what ended up happening was like Frank White was Al Capone's right hand man. So we jogging and I'm looking at the house, and then I stopped looking at the house, and I started looking at the houses in the area, and I'm like, where the hell? So this is like a few miles away from where I live at, like a whole different neighborhood, a whole different point of view. The streets are taken care of in a whole different manner. The signs are painted perfectly, and they shiny. And I'm looking, I'm like, the landscaping is magnificent, even in the wintertime. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, they never showed it. What do these people do to get where they at? And Frank Wright was a criminal, so that was a whole nother story. A whole nother story. But what ends up happening is you see people, once you start seeing people live completely different from you, the next thing is, well, what do they do to live this differently? And nobody could, you start putting two and two together that's the information that you've been lacking in. That's what your teachers didn't tell you. That's what the counselors, when they told you when you were telling what you wanted to be, and they told you what you should be, that's what they left out all the options you have. Like, nobody told me things like, you can get an apprenticeship with say a master electrician or something, or you can wind up getting certifications to be not a plant manager, but a plant inspector, right? A person who just comes in and inspects plants. Nobody told me about getting a TWIC card and working on I was about to say the docks, but yeah, it's the docks, but the ports. You know what I'm saying? In the city, nobody told me that. What's up, Seneca? It's all good. And as a young black male, nobody's telling you that you have a multitude of options. This is sports, entertainment, school, military. Nobody tells you anything that surrounds that, right? And then as you start getting older, then you get a job, and then somebody says, "Oh yeah, my cousins are this, my aunts are this, or my dad was at this, or my granddad was at this," and you're like, "Wait, what?" You know? Yeah. That's what I mean, Mike. I was saying that earlier, and then you start realizing, wait, I could have done this, I could have done that, you know, and it's like, wait, man, like, now you get frustrated at the people around you because the adults around you normally have jobs. So you start looking at the adults around you like, you go to work every day, and I know you come across these people. So you never told me I could be like these people. You never told me that these people even existed. So why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say, hey, put a bug in my ear to say, this person does this? Because one of the things that I've noticed is, as a young black male, they tell you to make money, but they don't tell you what makes money and how much money it makes. You know what I'm saying? Nah, Simone, I don't. So they never told you, if you go to school to get an education, how much the school costs per semester, per year. They don't tell you, that stuff is not told to you. So you start finding these things out, on the move, on the go. People tell you, you know, what's this major, what's that major. If you graduate in this, what does this pay start now? Nobody tells you those things, you know. Yeah, yeah. Oh, whew. Eddie Kane father was a trip, wasn't he? Well, I love him, but you ain't act like it. You didn't act like it. And you start realizing, you know, you start getting frustrated because you start looking at the situation objectively and like, oh, y'all don't want me to win in life. And the crazy part about it is, as you get older, you start understanding that people are going to take advantage on your lack of knowledge, and but more so the lack of knowledge that people around you are willing to share with you. So you can run into a room and know completely nothing while everybody else in the room knows pretty much everything that's going on. And now what? You know, you left at an extreme disadvantage. And that becomes the issue. But when you start to grow up, you start to adjust to and expect and accept that people are not really gonna have your back. You start to accept that, okay, people are not gonna actually look out for me. People are not gonna actually tell me what I need to know in which direction I need to be in. Yeah, accept the reality, and you start maneuvering as such. And when you accept that, sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow. What's up, Tony? Because you've also got to accept that people knowingly and unknowingly, what's up, Keenan, threw you under the bus. But here's the thing. As a young black male, you have the luxury to be angry. You have the luxury to be upset. You have the luxury to blame people for your misfortunes, right? When you become grown, you don't have that luxury, none whatsoever. And what I mean by that is you're going to come to find out that you don't have time to be angry because you're so far behind. You don't have time to point the finger because you're so far behind. You don't have time to even feel sorry for yourself because you're so far behind. So now it's like, okay, you're grown now. So guess what? You got hit with a lot. You got hit with a lot, and you're not gonna know. You're not gonna necessarily know how contracts work. You're not gonna necessarily know verbiage. You're not gonna necessarily know, your instincts of how people treat you like they're trying to get over on you. That's gonna be there. Your street sense and street knowledge, that's gonna be there and understandable. But you're gonna have to start being a little bit more cold, you know, because people make a living off of you not knowing what they know. And you're going to start having to interact with the world as such. Sorry about that. God dog it. And sometimes, brothers, you're going to get caught up in a lot of brothers who are lost, trying to find themselves and find their way. And this is what happens. Like, sometimes we talk about, I clown about guys who are religious or say Hotep or, 5%ers within the nation, whatever you want to call it, right? Uh, some, in some form of spirituality, and that kind of helps them find either their sanity or center themselves to be able to deal with the world, right? Or sometimes just put them in a fantasy land to not deal with the world. And you come across that. And other times you see people who do things like become real regimented or have like persons in the working out or, into some type of art, or just listening to music, or smoking cigars, or, you know, having something to help them decompress in society on their own, because you're not going to get that outside of yourself, right? And you're going to have to limit that, because unfortunately, you start realizing as a young black male, you want the world, but as a grown black man, you realize how much work you got to do to get it. You can only take small breaks. You don't have anything, the vast majority of us don't have anything that we inherit, that that somebody has laid out in front of us that we can take advantage of. The closest thing that I could say brothers have is, I would say, like the brotherhood of fraternity. That's not something hooked to really all the way, that's tied into every aspect of life, whether it's business, religion, or sports, entertainment. Like, fraternity is probably the only thing that's tied into everything. You know what I'm saying? And outside of that, you're on your own. So if you don't get in a fraternity, what if you don't go to college in the first place? Because the fraternities, people tied into the military and whatnot, also that. I get it. I get it, Prometheus. But, that's the only kind of group that kind of looks out for each other. You know, what is considered being behind as a black man? Uh, our situation. Being behind is, you know, like BGS would talk about our how the young boys are at a fifth grade reading level. That's being behind everybody. You know what I'm saying? So you behind. The economic situation starting out behind. The lack of knowledge as far as business behind, or credit, we're behind, or knowing stocks, or the not even knowing stock, knowing the premise of stocks. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got you on that. Yeah, stellar math students, but even with science and all the other stuff, not having, we're behind in not knowing a successful industry to be in, that's related to academia, that goes through academia. Like, we don't, people were doing coding 20, 30 years ago. You know, that part. Like, and the irony of that is, I will say this about black men in particular. We've went through the gamut. We've had, our culture has shifted in so many ways, from religion to inventors to scientists, and to activism, to entertainers, like, because to military service, like, because we've had to change so many different ways. Good, Winston. So when you become, growing into a black man, you start realizing, you have to be very adaptable and being able to adjust, because the society can change on you. You get what I'm saying? The society itself can change on you. And what I mean by that is, 1 minute you're doing good. What's up, Jays? Like, 1 minute you're doing one thing and it's working, and the next minute not so much. You know. Yeah, I mean, that's part of what I was talking about, Jays. That's part of what I'm talking about. Like, you know, because sometimes people are upset at you because you're making a way that they never saw, or and they would never taught a way. You get what I'm saying? And but normally, you like to see people winning, and when people are winning, we all good. But I think one of the biggest issues is the people who are really winning are like ducked off. And I think sometimes our community hates the people who are winning because they're ducked off. And the only reason a lot of people are ducked off is because people do detrimental things when you're winning. No, you gotta have morals. You gotta have morals. You don't. If you don't have any morals, what's up, BFT? If you don't have any morals, you can't really go anywhere. You gotta have rules. You gotta have standards. You gotta have principles. You know, if you're reckless, you're really not gonna have a direction whatsoever, because you're just gonna do something reckless and hope for the best. You know, what's up, Ernest? Like, yeah, and that's the thing. When you're a young black male, your mindset is growing into a grown black man. And the thing about that is, in some ways, you're gonna have to make the best of your adversities, and at the same time, you're gonna have to manage your emotions within your adversities, because other people are not gonna normally help you manage your emotions to be better unless they can benefit off of you. And the thing is, if people can't benefit off of you, they won't necessarily be associated with you like that. And you start learning that at an early age, because you know the people feel are going places with the least the young black males. What's up, who people feel are going places in life, and they can put the least amount of effort into that person is who people love. The people who need help and have to put in a lot of work, people don't really love them like that. They'll wait until their finished product to come around, which is messed up. It's just messed up. So from young black male to grown black man, it's going to be a long process for some. The question is, you got to shorten that journey for yourself to be more successful. What's up, Damien? What you need, like, what I would say for any young brother out there, control your emotions so you can think bigger than your situation. And if you can do that, you can shorten the process from being a young black male to a grown black man, because you can focus better. Ram Tough, what's happening? Yeah, and so and surround yourself with some of the best people you can, and walk away from people. Sometimes you got to walk away from your own family. Sometimes you got to walk away from friends. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to, sometimes you got to walk away from your own vices. You know, you can't be successful and be committed to your vices. Can't do that. You got to let something go. Once you commit to something, you got to fully commit. And be patient. That's another thing. Like, when you're young, you're impatient, not understanding that you can be highly successful and still be young. But people are saying be patient, as far as don't rush the process when you're young, because you're basically going to sabotage yourself. And there are things you're going to wish you didn't rush when you're unprepared for certain situations. Put your all into the preparation from boyhood to manhood. So nothing shocks you or surprises you, and you're prepared for everything when that moment comes. Because ultimately, when people say you're 18, they're going to throw you to the wolves. That's how it's going to be. And the sad part about it is, you're not going to be a man at 18. But people are going to treat you like you're supposed to know everything at 18. Truth be told, I would say, mentally, you probably become a man around 25. You know, because college years is 18 to 22, and you still figuring, and once that graduation period happens, you're out on your own. You still figuring out, yourself and your process. And you've dealt with the young. I'm 18. I'm 21. I could vote. I could drink. This, type, that, and the third. So I would say around 25 is that age. But in that process, don't always look to progress, and don't do things to regress just because you want to reminisce about when you were younger. Don't commit a negative behavior because it makes you remember when you were this age or that age, because it's not gonna end well. I'm gonna leave it at that because I've been on here for like 50 minutes, man. Thank y'all for rocking with me. I see. My bad. Shout out. Catch you later, David. You know, yeah, I feel that on the military part. But peace, everybody.